to go and get some resources that are available to you. Where do you go? You go to the Boys and Girls Club. Y'all know where it is. And there will be people on site meeting you with a bag of goodies and food. Now listen, this is only while supplies last, so I need you guys to get over there, get your stuff, get the word out, share this video with friends, family, colleagues, on all your social media platforms. Why? Because we want you here with us. We want you here with the excitement. But in addition to that, if you cannot physically get to that location, you can still help spread the message of hope and recovery. You can share this out and follow it throughout the day for updates on the Rutherford County Recovery Fest Facebook page. I want you to like it. I want you to share it and even comment. There are tons of videos already on there and several videos you will see today of stories of restoration and hope, people getting their freedom from addiction. And you can also help us out by spreading the word of hope. September is National Recovery Month, and we want everybody to know that recovery happens. So go today, join us at the Boys and Girls Club, Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
Prevention Coalition for Success's mission is to connect our communities to reduce substance abuse. We are a public health organization aimed at increasing the health and wellness of the residents of Rutherford County. We organize a community coalition to achieve our goals of preventing substance misuse.
August 31st is International Overdose Awareness Day. To prevent overdose, properly dispose of potentially addictive or dangerous medications in the permanent drop boxes located in law enforcement facilities throughout Rutherford County. Keep these medications locked in your home to prevent misuse.
Educate the youth and young adults in your life about the dangers of abusing prescription medication, including opioids. Carry naloxone, the overdose reversal medication to save a life. It only takes a little to lose a lot. Contact us at the information provided below.
My name is Jessica Richardson, and I'm from Tennessee. I first experienced drugs when I was 13 years old. I used every kind of drug there was in my addiction. I used because I was happy. I used because I was sad. I used for a number of different reasons. I used to fit in. Some of the consequences of my using were I lost custody of all three of my children. I lost my freedom. I was sentenced to 6 years in prison. It was a really dark and scary place, and it didn't get to the worst until there was nothing left. No family. I was homeless, hurt, broken, and beaten down. My turning point was when I'd heard about a program called Doors of Hope in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. It was a reentry program for women who had been addicted to drugs and incarcerated. My recovery date is May 6, 2019. Today I have a great job. I work at a treatment center. I get to share my experience, strength, and hope with other women that are going through the same things that I struggled with early in recovery, trying to find the hope that they need to keep pushing through to get another day clean. I share the message of recovery every day. I feel like I walk, talk, and breathe recovery. But I get to share this with my sponsees. I get to share this with my the people that I work with, my friends, my family. My clean date is May 6, 2019.
addiction and incarceration. We do that through a reentry program that can house a woman from 9 to 12 months. During that time, we really emphasize recovery. Once you come in, you're there for about 30 days, and that time is just used for you to get stable in your recovery. So you get a case manager, you meet with a peer recovery specialist, you also get a life coach, which is a lady in the community that may not have the life of addiction, but she's lived a healthy life. So just a volunteer that wants to invest in you and be a part of your story. And we just kind of pour into you while you can't pour into yourself. So that's kind of for the first 30 days. Then you're able to get a job. Before you get a job, you also have to have a sponsor, go into meetings, work in the steps. So really strong in the recovery base. And then after that, we just help you practice those principles and the tools that you learn to help you be successful. We also partner with a lot of community agencies. So like St. Louis Clinic, Amelia's Closet helps our clients get interview clothes, the Journey Home, Greenhouse Ministries provides clothes, food, bikes, almost anything that we need. First Bank helps our clients get bank accounts and be financially responsible. So our program is between 9 to 12 months. People are more successful the longer they stay. And then after that 12 months, we help people find transitional housing, which could be through the Journey Home or independent living or through the domestic violence shelter, whichever one can meet their needs. And we just kind of see them through. So we kind of hold their hand for about a year while they practice all their principles and figure out what's next in life. So a lot of people think of it kind of like a halfway house, but with more structure. So it's not considered a halfway house. It's a reentry program. And we're also state approved for parole and probation. So we're on that list. If people are looking for a transitional plan or anything like that, they could always come to Doors of Hope.
My name is Jeffrey Castile from Gallatin, Tennessee. I experienced alcohol at an early age, probably 13 or 14, and then started experiencing with drugs later on in high school. The drug of choice was methamphetamines. At first, when I first started using it, was I used to fit in with a crowd. Thought it was an easier way to make friends. But later on in my addiction, I was using against my will. It became a daily routine, a daily habit. Using was the only way I knew to survive. I suffered many consequences through my addiction. I'd been in and out of jail multiple times, arrested in multiple counties, states. I'd lost my family, my friends. I was alone, had nobody, and the consequences had gotten heavier as my addiction went on. In addiction, life was it was miserable in the end. When I first started, it was fun. It was just having fun and with friends, and but in the end of my road, there was a lot of misery that came with it. I was alone. I didn't want nobody, didn't have nobody, and the only thing that I could resort back to was the drugs. My turning point came probably in 2017. I was living in a car, living in friends' driveways. Friends, when I say friends, these people wouldn't even allow me to sleep on their couch, but I could sleep in my car in their driveway. And then, I couldn't, even though I wanted to do better or do the right thing, I didn't know how. I finally had made a mistake in January of 2018 that costed me quite a bit of jail time. And within that jail time, I had found some clarity and knew that I no longer wanted to live the lifestyle that I had been living for so long. And that's when, I started, really reaching out, trying to find something different. That's when help arrived for me. It was in 2018. Yeah, I started my recovery around July. I went to treatment in July of 2018. I'd been in jail for some time, and I entered a program with the Sumner County Recovery Court. Went to treatment. I'd done about 5 months in treatment, and then I came out and I worked a program of the Sumner County Recovery Court, and eventually had graduated that program of November 2019. Today, I'll have to say that my life is so much better. The problems I have today in life could not amount to what it used to be like in active addiction. Today, I'm a law-abiding citizen. Even though that I do have a past, I know that my future ahead of me now in recovery is so much better. I have a very good job today. I have a stable home. I have a program that I believe that I try to work to my best. I try to share with people, maybe things that happened to me when I was in active addiction. And then I try to share with them, that's something that if that same thing or something like that happens in recovery, of how I can deal with it. Even though that I'm in recovery, I still have everyday life problems, but I don't resort back to the old ways with them problems. Today, I try to stand up and face them as the best I can. I try to use the tools that are given to me, and I just try to pass that message on to somebody else. We're living the good fight today, and just keep fighting. That's probably the best answer that I can give them. If I was able to give somebody some wisdom that was maybe coming into the rooms or coming into recovery or was new to recovery or maybe just coming out of treatment is, don't give up 5 minutes before the miracle happens. No.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to presentation on adolescent substance abuse, the effects of drugs and alcohol, and how to prevent addiction. My name is Cole Zabo. I'm with Arch Academy, Adolescent Recovery of Cumberland Heights, and I work in the admissions and outreach department. So the goal of this presentation is to, and we'll get into a little bit of this, but it's not a classic prevention programming, just say no, DARE program. Those programs are great, but this is more of an education, and I think education is prevention. So we'll talk about the effects of alcohol and drugs. We'll talk about the teenage brain, and we'll get into a toolkit for recovery. How to recognize addiction, high-risk behaviors, how to have a conversation with somebody, how to reach out if you need help in yourself or a loved one. So before we begin, let's take a view on some unsuccessful ways to prevent drug addiction.
Take our faith This morning we're going to have a special lecture from your school counselor, Mr. Mackey. Now who is that? That is not appropriate behavior, okay? I'm sorry, Mr. Mackey, okay? Well, that's okay. Just don't let it happen again. We won't let it happen again, Mr. Mackey, okay? Okay, that's fine. Okay. Okay. Now, as your counselor, I'm here to tell you about drugs and alcohol and why they're bad, okay? So, first of all, smoking's bad. You shouldn't smoke. And alcohol is bad. You shouldn't drink alcohol. And as for drugs, well, drugs are...
So, drugs are bad, okay? And we'll talk about our objectives. So, like I said, we'll learn about the evolving adolescent brain, how to understand the harmful effects of alcohol and drugs, of course, teach alternative coping skills, provide some good resources if you or a loved one are struggling with addiction. We'll provide some resources to seek help and help you to make educated choices about substance abuse. So let's talk about the teenage brain. And something I want to focus on is kind of that midbrain to prefrontal cortex. So we're going to talk about the ventral striatum, the amygdala, the hippocampus, and that prefrontal cortex. So the ventral striatum, hippocampus, amygdala, they're all fancy words. It basically makes up the limbic system. And the limbic system is associated with emotions and rewards. If you do something, like eating or exercise, a healthy behavior, you get a little rush of dopamine. That's where that reward system comes from. It comes from this kind of mid to back part of the brain. You see your hippocampus is involved in memory and learning. Tremendous learning curve with teens. This is, still forming. In teens, the reward center, teens are more excited about reward than consequences. So that's where that high risk taking behavior typically we start to see in adolescence. In adults, it's fully developed. And the amygdala is the emotional core, fear, anger, impulse. So that's why teenagers are more impulsive. This prefrontal cortex area, this front brain, it's kind of the CEO of the whole brain. It's involved with decision making, executive functioning, problem solving. So that's more fully developed in adults. And you see here that it really doesn't stop. It really doesn't stop evolving until and finishing growth until about 25 years old. So some more on the adolescent brain. So around age 11 or 12, your brain begins to prune itself. So it prunes things that you don't need anymore, like crawling or muscle memory, how to eat food, how to do simple kind of tasks that as you get older, those connections get hardened and you don't really need them anymore. So the nerve cells that are frequently used during childhood, they're strengthened. And the ones that are not activated are infrequently used. They're just eliminated. So it's like a gardener pruning, right? Ineffective or weak connections are pruned in much the same way a gardener would prune a tree or a bush, giving the plant the desired shape. So your brain is evolving, it's pruning, it's hardening connections. It's really, the evolving landscape it's just getting made for adulthood. Right? It's trying to create itself to be the best possible version when you get into adulthood. So the pruning occurs from the back of the brain to the front of the brain. So from that limbic system to the prefrontal cortex. Okay? And I love this quote by David Walsh. He says, "It is as if a teenager's brain has a fully functional car accelerator, but the brakes have not been installed yet." So high emotion, high reward system, that's what teenagers are feeding off of. But unfortunately, that executive functioning, that decision making, is not as advanced because the brain is evolving from the back to the front. So therefore, that car accelerator, no brakes, what do you think is going to happen? So with that maturation from the back to the front, emotion to reasoning, development may significantly contribute to risk-taking behaviors in youth. So it's normal for adolescents to take risks, right? They need this for independence. They need it for living on their own, learning how to become an adult. You know, things that if teenagers didn't take risks, they'd be staying at home and not having any skills or any talents or, playing sports or music. They wouldn't take any risks, and you need that for healthy brain development. But that's also why trying new experiences and taking risks, including alcohol and drugs, are more likely among teens than children or adults. That's when that emotion and reward are fully functional. Children, they're still trying to learn about the world, right? They're still in that early developmental phase. And adults, their brains are fully developed at or around age 25. So really, we see the risk-taking in adolescence very high. Alcohol and drugs are viewed as a short-term reward in situations in which a teen is experiencing high emotion in the presence of intense peer pressure. So these quote-unquote rewards is when that teenager is experiencing that high emotion, right? The car is 0 to 100 in 0.5 seconds, right? And they don't know what to do. So how do I cope? Immediate, boom, alcohol or drugs in the moment seemingly fixes that. And that can be in the presence of intense peer pressure. We know kids and adolescents, they listen to their peer group more than adults. And again, that's needed. Their community is a lot stronger. That peer pressure is more influential to them when they're an adolescent, right? It means more. They care about what other kids think about them. It's just where they're at in life. So when the accelerator is more powerful than the brakes, we get compromised decision making, which could wind you up in the dumps on a 2-story building where you don't want to be, leave you stuck like in the middle of the road. But ultimately, what risk-taking really wants to get you to is that powerful horse car, sleek, expensive, high-quality machine. That's where normal, quote-unquote, risk-taking, that's where what we want the results to be, is that nice sports car. So, it's developing brain and vulnerability to substance use. So, among youth who begin drinking at 11 to 12 years of age, 7.2% were found to have an alcohol use disorder within 2 years. For those who waited until age 21 to get drunk for the first time, the prevalence of an alcohol use disorder within 2 years after starting was 3.7%. The early age onset, rather than the duration of use, is a stronger predictor of rapid progression of substance use disorders. So it doesn't matter how long somebody drinks, it matters when, right? When that brain is still developing. That's the key, that's the sweet spot. Individuals with earlier onset had shorter time span from first exposure to dependence than did adult onset groups. We hear a lot of times that, I'm just smoking weed, I'm just drinking, drinking's legal, weed's legal, and probably, 15 or more states now, it's okay, right? But actually, the earlier that you start is a better predictor of having dependence or an alcohol use disorder, substance use disorder, than the duration or how long you drink or how much you drink or use. It's also teaching your brain that it's okay to use substances and not deal with problems or emotions, right? These normal life experiences. It's like we're teaching our brain these things. And if we go back to pruning, it's like we're pruning the flowers and we're leaving the weeds in our garden, right? We're pruning how to deal with life in a healthy way and learning how to deal with life just using substance. And we'll find out a little bit more about that. So is it giving you relief or is that just an illusion? So if they're experiencing a high emotional situation and use drugs and alcohol to relieve things like stress, social pressure, depression, anxiety, academics, and family issues, you're telling your brain, again, it doesn't develop effective neural pathways to help you cope and deal with life, normal life experiences. Every teenager has stress, peer pressure, goes through depression, bouts of depression, anxiety, right? Pressures from teachers and parents and coaches to perform, whether that's academically or in sports or music, right? Always getting better. And if you have family issues, turning to alcohol and drugs is seemingly an escape. But you're hardwiring your brain for what you wanted to relieve. If you wanted to relieve that stress and anxiety, you're really hardwiring your brain for anxiety and depression, right? It's going to stick around because you're not dealing with it. So the result, what you thought was helping your brain is making it worse. So this is a lot of brain education, a lot of science, a lot of development. It's pretty heavy stuff. I wanted to get into it at the beginning. So I'll give you a little break. Here's a clip from The Office. I think this was a drug testing episode. This is Dwight's drug investigation. So that was a lot of information, a lot of science. So enjoy yourself with the 3-minute clip of The Office. All right, so we'll start getting to the facts, drugs and alcohol here. We'll begin with marijuana. So increasingly higher potency, especially with oils and wax. I mean, we're seeing 80-90% THC in these products. Kids getting psychosis, getting calls for admission for kids in psych hospitals, having psychotic breaks, getting physically and verbally aggressive, self-harm. I mean, the psychoactive chemical is very potent, a lot more potent than it was even a few years ago. And so the question always is it addictive? And I'd say it is, right? Kids coming off of cannabis experience physical withdrawal, trouble sleeping, sometimes appetite disturbance, and also definitely emotional withdrawal, like irritability, anxiety, depression, lowers their distress tolerance. They can't deal with stressful situations as well. Some other common symptoms: anxiety, increased anger and aggression, paranoia, and lack of motivation for things that they used to care for, like sports or music or school, family, friends. Just that motivation is just decreasing. It also has a negative impact on attention, memory, learning, and decision making. So all of those brain functions that we talked about, amygdala, hippocampus, prefrontal cortex, it affects all of those areas of the brain, especially for teenagers. So this is kind of interesting. There's things in the brain called CBI, or cannabinoid receptors, and they respond to naturally occurring THC. That system is important for cognition, neurodevelopment, stress response, and emotional control. So there's natural THC that's produced by the body that attaches to these receptors and important for all those brain functions. However, repeated exposure to marijuana can dial down that cell activity and your brain doesn't produce as much, and it can lead to brain abnormalities and altered neural activity. And here's also that, and I hear this kind of debate a lot, that marijuana is good for you. You know, it cures all these ailments, and it's just this miracle drug, and it helps rather than hurts. And so, in a study in 2015, it shows marijuana is considerable promise for treating medical conditions, including pain, muscle spasms, seizure disorders, and nausea from cancer chemotherapy. At least some of those benefits are thought to come from cannabidiol, a chemical compound of the marijuana plant not thought to produce mind-altering effects. So, cannabidiol is also a marijuana, but that doesn't have any psychoactive or mind-altering effects. So the THC that's in the marijuana is not helping with your cancer or glaucoma or anything like that. It's other things in the plant that can be used differently rather than vaping or smoking or using THC or marijuana like that. So alcohol impairs balance, motor coordination, decision making. It interferes with the ability to form new memories, explicit memories like facts and equations. And in school, you're learning a lot of facts, and in math and history, you know, you're learning a lot of textbook things, and it affects that part of the brain, that hippocampus. It also affects the ability to remember events and things like birthdays or gatherings or dates, you know. So, and blackouts affect the memory, totally wipes out the memory. And you're more susceptible to seizures during withdrawal, and it reduces the myelin in the prefrontal cortex. Remember that forefront of the brain. So myelin is a fatty sheath that wraps the wires. It's a fatty sheath, right? And it enhances the information processing, cognitive performance. So it's kind of like hardening, so your brain doesn't prune back that connectivity, right? And so if the myelin shrinks and your brain prunes those neural pathways, your brain actually can undergo shrinkage. And there is significant long-term effects and higher rates of alcohol use disorder in adulthood. You know, wet brain, brain shrinkage, and nobody likes shrinkage, especially George Costanza. So these prescription drugs, we're going to talk about opioids and benzos. They're highly addictive. They affect the brainstem, which controls breathing and heartbeat. And we'll get into a little bit of that. Tolerance, all right? Tolerance happens when a person no longer responds to a drug in the way they did at first. It takes a higher dose of the drug to achieve the same effect as when the person first used it. So this is why people with substance use disorders use more and more of the drug to get the high that they seek. And when they stop using for a period of time, the risk of overdose greatly increases because they try to use the same amount as that they were using before, and an overdose is taking too much. And when it affects the breathing and the heartbeat, those slow down significantly to the point of cardiac arrest, or you stop breathing. Withdrawal symptoms include muscle aches, restlessness, anxiety, inability to sleep, diarrhea, nausea and vomiting, and seizures. Withdrawals are not fun. So for nicotine, popular among adolescents and in the world today, I think moving from tobacco and cigarettes to vaping. Here's some examples of different mods, the Juul, the Soren Drop, other different type of devices. Usually has a battery that heats up a coil and it vaporizes the e-liquid. And here's some CDC information, 2019 National Youth Tobacco Survey reports that over 5 million youth are currently using e-cigarettes. So that jumped from 3.6 million in 2018 to 5 million in 2019. And nearly 1 million use the product daily, right? And so some of the new evidence coming out, and this stuff is new, right? We only have data on this for the past 5-10 years. And something new that has come out from the CDC is a thing called EVALI, e-cigarette or vaping produced or product use associated lung injury. So as of February 18th, 2020, total of 2,807 hospitalized EVALI cases or deaths have been reported to CDC from all 50 states. It's not just Tennessee, New York, California, all states. 52% of that 2,807, 52% of those are under the age of 24. THC containing products are linked to most EVALI cases, and the additives in those vapes, like vitamin E acetate, are found in lung fluid with people who have EVALI. So, and that's another thing. These vapes and e-cigs are so new that they're not regulated, right? So they're coming from non-FDA approved companies and facilities. We don't know what's in them. And that vitamin E acetate is found in a large portion of those people with EVALI. Kids are getting hospitalized. We've had a few kids reach back out and say that they've had to go to the hospital, popcorn lung, different types of issues with the lungs. So we talked about the teenage brain and the development. We've talked about some facts about alcohol and drugs. But let's get into addiction. What is addiction? How do we get addicted? Who becomes addicted? So addiction is the repetitive compulsive use of a substance despite negative consequences to the user. And why don't people just stop? Drug taking persists for many reasons, including changes in the brain, desire to experience pleasure from the drug, and the desire to avoid discomfort or withdrawal. And life factors like your family history of mental health or substance use, your personality, mental health symptoms and diagnoses, medications, social and physical development, and life experience all play important factors in alcohol and drug addiction. Now, a lot of times, especially kids, they have this idea, or parents, that, oh, I can't be addicted, I'm too young. Or my son can't get addicted, he's too young. We go to this school, I'm not getting arrested, right? I still have money, I still live in a nice house, go to a great school. I can't become addicted, right? I'm not an addict. But alcoholism and drug addiction doesn't depend on your income, job, age, race, or color. Addiction is a disease of the brain, and it can happen to anyone, much like anybody can get cancer. Anybody can get diabetes, right? Anybody can get addicted to drugs and alcohol. It's a disease, not a moral failing. Here's some people that are either in recovery or have struggled with alcohol and drug addiction. See if you can name a few. All right. Most of y'all know those different celebrities who have battled addiction. So let's talk about the progression of use. So usually the first stage is little to no involvement with alcohol and drugs. First experience is drinking and smoking out of curiosity, experimenting. You might be after school, friends offer a drink or a joint. You're not using alone, you're at a party, you're using with friends. And then you go to regular weekend use. So your circle of friends change, right? You're hanging out with new people, different areas. You can begin to associate with others who like drugs and alcohol. Starting to have academic problems, so you typically A-B student might be getting B's or C's or D's. using drugs to get high or feel better, right? Relieve that stress and anxiety. Your drug use begins on days other than the weekends. Could it be happening on weeknights, school nights? Coming home under the influence, maybe using eye drops or perfume to cover up the smell. And then you're having blackouts, right? Drinking to blackout. Trying unsuccessfully to stop. Using during the school day, having to wake up and use, go to school high, maybe during school or after school. Feelings of guilt, expressions of remorse over drug use and associated behavior, maybe starting to get into consequences or have gotten caught. Feel really bad and remorseful, but that's not stopping it. Experimenting with other drugs, so we're progressing in use as well. Acid, Xanax, cocaine, other different types of over-the-counter medications, defending your problem, denying that you have a problem. Still other people are more to blame. And then the last stage is typically has been either suspended, expelled, or just quit school. Academic behavior is seriously impaired. The obsession to drink and use happens from the time you wake up, where's my bowl, where's my pipe, to the time you go to bed. Worrying about money, how am I going to get drugs? Who has drugs? What am I going to tell my friends and family where I'm at? Right? I'm using alone to try to hide it, planning my day around it, maybe getting into some legal troubles now. And really those mental health symptoms are just increasingly worse. Some other warning signs are, look at if you have a family history of addiction. Have you been having memory lapses, blackouts, trouble concentrating? Have you lost interest in school, sports, music, video games? Do you need drugs or alcohol to relax, have fun, feel normal? If you can't have fun with your friends without drinking and using, it might be a problem. Been arguing more with family and friends, getting short. Do I need to use more drugs and alcohol to get the same effect? Is my tolerance building? Do I need to use when I wake up and go to sleep? Using alone? Making excuses for your behavior, lying to others. I don't use, it's not that bad, right? Don't worry about me, I'm only harming myself. Those excuses for your behavior start to come out. So how do we have a conversation? What do we do? If you have issues, if you or a loved one has an issue, how do we start that conversation? So finding one person that you trust in is a simple way to get rid of that guilt that you may be experiencing, that shame, right? It's that stigma that still surrounds drug addiction. Talking to one person can alleviate that and finally get you the help that you deserve. Right? Like I said, you're not a bad person trying to get good. People in recovery are sick people trying to get well. No one would be upset at somebody that had Alzheimer's and forgot their loved one's names. It's a disease. We understand that. They need to get help, much like an addict or an alcoholic needs to get help for their disease. So if you're concerned about your substance use, now is the time to do something about it before it gets worse. It does progress. We just went through that progression of use. Find somebody that you can talk to. Some people may be your counselor, school counselor, or a therapist that you're seeing, a family member. Maybe it's your brother or sister. Maybe it's your aunt or aunt, grandparents. If you're afraid to go to your mom and dad because of the consequences, find somebody else in your family. It could be a favorite teacher or a coach. If you go to church or belong to some religious denomination, or a close friend that will understand. So this is how you start the conversation. Find a comfortable place and a time. Plan on what you want to say. Be ready for questions. The person, when you come to this conversation, is going to have some questions. They might be alarmed and they're going to want to find out how they can best support you. Take it one step at a time and be proud. Right? Addiction didn't just develop overnight. And so finding the help you need and recovering is not going to be like a light switch. It's not just going to just turn off, right? It's a daily reprieve, okay? And it takes one day at a time. Have a plan. So if you're having troubles of like, how do I start this conversation? Here's some things that you can say. I think my drug use is getting out of control. I don't know what to do. I'm worried that my substance use is getting worse, and I think I may need help. So if you're at this point and you have those things to say, here are some resources to find treatment in your area. There's suicide hotline, or you can go online to suicidepreventionlifeline.org. Obviously, an emergency, call 911. Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous are booming in the Middle Tennessee area. You know, there's hundreds of meetings every day, 7 days a week. Just log online and you can find a local meeting in your area. Or give Arch Academy a call. Shoot me an email if you think you're struggling or know somebody that's struggling. We can help you find the help you need with resources or an assessment. Maybe you need some treatment. We're happy to help. Any questions? If any questions, please call or email and direct your questions to myself. Thank you for taking the time to watch the presentation. I hope that you are able to make a more educated decision about substance use. And if you are struggling with substances, have a better understanding of how to find help, how to ask for help, because help is there. Thank you.
My name is Rhonda Rush, and I live in Smyrna, Tennessee. I started experimenting with drugs as a teenager. Just kind of experimenting here and there, and it was kind of the culture of the day. But really, in my early 20s is when I was prescribed opiates. So that was the real beginning. My go-to drug was absolutely always opiates. That was what calmed the beast within, so to speak. I used to silence the voices, the condemnation, the guilt, all of the inner turmoil of growing up in a dysfunctional environment. For a long time, I didn't even recognize the fact that I had a problem. I took opiates for many, many years with pretty much not a whole lot of consequences. And then my husband died, and when he died, that was my Band-Aid. That was the go-to to relieve that pain of grief that I didn't know how to deal with any other way. So the downward spiral really began when he died, and I just went to opiates instead of other more healthy avenues to deal with that. I started recovering when I went to jail, so I was forced to start recovery. However, it took a good year and a half after that for those layers to start being peeled away and getting to the bottom of what exactly drove me to use the opiates to begin with. So it started when I went to jail. It was a good year and a half long process to find my way through that and to come out on the other side determined, willing, open, and running forward instead of turning back. My life today is a series of, I say sometimes God can't surprise me anymore, and then He surprises me again. My life today it's peace and joy, and all the things money can't buy. But also, again, I'm a certified peer recovery specialist. I'm the recovery director for my church, Family Worship Center, and I live to spread the message of recovery because God brought me out of a pit that was deep, dark, and ugly. And I was in it a long time. So to see other people and to share the hope with them that it's possible for them to get out is what motivates me. My recovery date, sobriety date, is October 9th, 2015. Every single day, I live in recovery and work to do the best I can do just for the day.
Their needs and the needs of their caregivers. The reason for involvement can be substance use, mental health, housing, and other issues like that. At Safe Baby Court, we work with families to strengthen families, empower parents, and build healthy communities. We use services that are best for children and families. It's been said it takes a village to raise a child, and part of this program is aimed at just building that community support. We can show parents that they can raise healthy children on their own. We meet regularly, we have honest conversations, and we make plans that are specific to each person. We want to hear their story and help them move towards the best life that they can have with their children. If you're interested in learning more about this program or how you can help families in the program, please contact me.
My name is Candy Donnell. I'm from Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And I was hit by a car and I was given my very first pain pill. My drug of choice is opiates. I used drugs to mask who I really was. I didn't like my personality. Some of the consequences I had using, I lost my freedom, my family, my home. Life in active addiction was just chaotic, unhealthy. I had no relationships with any of my family members or my children. My turning point was losing my freedom. I had to serve a 6-year sentence. I started my recovery in 2017. My life today in recovery is full of joy and happiness. I've regained custody back of my children. I work as a recovery coach at Journey Pure. I share the message of recovery with others by praying, meditating every morning, working the 12 steps, working with my sponsor, and helping other women by sponsoring them. My clean date is April the 4th, 2017.
Hi, my name is Rhonda Alley, and I volunteer with the Rutherford County Suicide Prevention Coalition. September is the month that has been set aside to bring about awareness of suicide prevention. The Rutherford County Suicide Prevention Coalition is a grassroots effort of volunteers in our community who has taken on cause to share information with as many people as we can regarding the signs and symptoms of suicide, what can be done to prevent suicide, and information to help direct others to help if they're having suicidal thoughts. Suicide is a tragic end to a life, a permanent solution to a temporary problem, yet is one of the fastest growing epidemics in the United States and across the world. Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, which is September, is best observed by educating yourself in the ways you can identify those who are at risk for suicide, If you have been having suicidal thoughts, please be sure to contact the suicide hotline at 1-800-273-8255. Speak to a friend, speak to a family member, or please seek professional help. Why? Because you're worth the effort. You're a worthwhile person. So please don't let Suicide Prevention Awareness Month pass without getting the help you need. For everybody else, remember to keep your eyes open. The life you save can be somebody very close to you. If you're interested in volunteering with the Rutherford County Suicide Prevention Coalition, please reach out to us by calling 615-423-7865. You can reach us by email at Alley, ALLEY, Rhonda, RHONDA, at yahoo.com. For you may never know, the day may come when you will need this very important information. Thank you.
Club here in Murfreesboro. If you want to stop by, we're having a drive-through event, and we'd be glad to have you come through, say hi, get some great resources from us, and continue celebrating recovery every day like we do here. I want to introduce myself. My name is Ashley Perkins. I'm with Spiro Health. I'm a clinical support specialist with the company. And I want to go ahead and thank the Prevention Coalition for Success for organizing this and allowing us to continue to do this event, even with all the precautions we need to take right now. It's so great to get to meet everybody and get the word out about recovery. So again, my name is Ashley Perkins. I'm a licensed counselor here in Tennessee as well as in Kentucky. And I'm a clinical support specialist with Spiro Health. If you don't know about us, we're an integrated healthcare organization that focuses on and specializes in substance use recovery and substance use disorders. We have many locations here in Tennessee, as well as Kentucky, Ohio, Indiana, and now also in Virginia. So check us out. It's our mission to save lives, instill hope, and restore relationships. So check out our website. It's Spiro, SPERO, health.com. And I'll give you some more information about us later. So personally, I have a passion for working in the recovery field myself. It started well before I became a counselor several years ago. I have close friends and family that have struggled with substance use disorders for years, and we've all seen the effects of that. So it's really inspired me to want to help out in this field. I started in central Kentucky and worked my way down here to middle Tennessee, and along the way, there's always different stories and different details, but overall, the same themes emerge and the same types of things you see that really shows how connected we all are in this unique world. I was telling my friend the other day about coming down here and participating in this event, and that I'd be talking about integrated care, which is what we do at Spiro. And she asked, what is that? So I gave her a very brief synopsis, rundown of what that meant. And she responded, she's like, well, I guess I've actually had that now. This friend is actually also in recovery. And she actually completed her medication-assisted treatment program not too long ago. So she's one of the many success stories that even though she never knew what her treatment was called, integrated care helped her get to where she is today with her recovery path. So what is integrated care? I'll let you guys know more about that. And how does it help us and help people seeking recovery from substance use disorders? The simple answer is that it's an approach that includes treating the physical, the psychological, and the social effects of substance use disorder. It's usually done with physician services, with counseling, with case management services, what here at Spiro Health we call recovery support services, and peer support. Substance use disorders are biopsychosocial conditions, and that's a way of saying they're conditions that have physical effects, psychological effects, and mental health effects, along with the social functioning effects. So none of these areas is any more important than the other, but I want to kind of take some time to talk to you guys about that, point out some of the differences in those different areas and why they're important to consider. So physical effects, those are usually going to be most obvious and debilitating for anybody struggling with substance use disorder. It can be the physical changes of use, such as changes to the brain. That part of our brain that's in charge of our decision-making process, that prefrontal cortex, that's going to be immediate reward, long-term consequence. That area of our brain is strongly influenced by substance use disorder. And also, if that area of the brain is already compromised, or maybe say you're younger, that area of your brain is not fully developed, you're more susceptible to struggling with substance use disorders. Then there can also be changes to how pain is perceived. Many people who have opioid use disorders may say their pain tolerance goes down over time. So it's something you have to consider. And then, of course, notably, withdrawal. Withdrawal and other post-use effects, that really makes a big barrier for people seeking treatment. I learned a lot about physical effects working in this field, working with some patients that were really dealing with some really strong physical barriers to their treatment. So there's one patient I worked with, this gentleman, he had been dealing with pain for many years. He was a roofer. He was, had a career, had his own business, and for many years he had self-medicated. Started off getting pain medication for his pain in his knees and his back, and over time, like the story many of us hear, he just kept having to use so that he could deal with that pain while still working, and it just escalated over time. And he came to the realization many years later that all that time self-medicating, it really actually made his condition worse. So it wasn't until then that he could see that, man, I've got chronic injuries now, and it's going to really cause me to have ongoing need for care for my pain. So for him to be successful, he had to have close attention to his physical needs. And I'm glad to say he was successful in seeking treatment and finding integrative care providers who were able to talk through managing his physical health needs while also meeting his other needs as well. Then there's the psychological effects of use disorders, something that's, of course, very close to my heart, being a counselor. So when we talk about this, we're talking about trauma, depression, anxiety, low self-esteem. Sometimes use can trigger or worsen mental health issues, serious mental health issues like psychosis. So if nothing else, though, drug and alcohol use have strong impacts on our overall mental health and well-being. It has to really be considered. And I'll never forget, I had a patient that I was working with one time, shared in a group counseling session something that really made me examine the long-term effects of substance use disorder as well as the progress that can be made in recovery. She shared that she had been using for many years to manage her chronic anxiety condition, something that her mother had as well, that then she had, treated with medication, later with illicit use. And after she had been in treatment with integrated care for about a year, she said, she really noticed that being off all substances, she kind of had this epiphany. Her anxiety level was actually lower than when she was taking medication or other drugs 3-4 times a day, overusing, trying to manage that, taking things that would totally numb her out. That anxiety level was actually lower now, sober. She really felt that in her experience. This kind of proved to her the drug use. How do they address all these issues? Well, it kind of touched on some of that, but let's go into that a little more. So for integrated care, like what we do here at Sparrow, SPERO, is we have physician and nurse practitioners. Those services are essential. They focus on the physical impact of substance use and recovery. They can use medication or other prescribed therapies to address things like physical withdrawal, acute mental health needs. Maintenance medication is a big one, of course. When we talk about medication-assisted treatment, we're usually talking about having a maintenance medication. So many people seeking recovery need that physician care as well. They probably neglected their health over time because of their use disorder. And they especially need somebody who won't pass judgment on their use and can help focusing on helping them. Just like the story I told earlier of my patient with the knee and the back issues, some patients come with chronic physical ailments, other barriers to their recovery. So when people say, I just never thought I could find something that would work for me, it's amazing to see that transformation when they finally get on the right medications and the right physical therapies to say, I feel normal again. I physically feel like I did before I used. And once starting with a physician who can prescribe recovery medication, the change is like, it's almost immediate. Now, I'm not saying someone starts medication and they're already done with recovery. No, but the change starts right away. And it's great to see that. And it's so encouraging for patients. They will suddenly be able to function each day without searching for something to use just to get by and make it through the day. And of course, there's counseling. It's a place to assist with working through those internal barriers that we have. addressing the way we think and respond to stress, manage emotions, especially with a substance use disorder, because you've probably been using substances to do these things. It's crucial that those seeking recovery have a safe place to explore their emotional needs. They're often pushed to the side when you're in active use. And I can't tell you how many of our patients talk about being able to have counseling services being the deciding factor in whether or not they stay in their recovery program. They really like having that safe, empathetic, trained person that they can discuss their mental health needs with. It's invaluable. It's really, really something that's crucial in the recovery process. Another great example of this, since again, counseling's my forte, I've worked with many, many patients and people in my life with this, is I had a gentleman come in to see me for a counseling session after he had a lapse. He had about 14 months sober. And then he had one incident, a lapse in judgment, and came to me very distraught, very upset, saying, I've thrown away 14 months, it's all gone. I just don't know why I did that. And so as we sat there and I channeled my counseling skills and my expertise and worked with him to hear him and empathize that this was hard for him and how much it's really insane for him to have gone through this. We then talked about, let's reframe this. Let's talk about what if we said 14 months, one lapse. And his face lifted. And he said, yeah, 14 months, one lapse. He didn't have to say 2 days sober or 2 days clean, however he wanted to say it. He could say, I've been in recovery for 14 months. I've had a lapse. We didn't want to erase all that progress he made. And having that person there that could affirm that for him, who could help him change the way he looked at that was huge in his recovery. And he was actually able to then feel affirmed and like, okay, I'm sticking with it. He didn't quit. I gave him all the encouragement, but look, you're still here. And that's the important part. It's never too late, as long as you're still coming back. And so he was actually able to turn that around and ended up continuing his recovery path, stabilized again in treatment, and continued to add on that time that he was so proud to say that he had in recovery. Then, of course, there's our case management services. Like I said, here at Sparrow, we call this recovery support services because that's really what it is. It's supporting your recovery. It's really there to serve to help connect patients back with their communities, back with resources that are going to help them on their path. It's a big part of building those relationships and the hope that things can improve. These teammates are trained in supporting recovery needs and specializing in referrals to make community connections. So often people have neglected these needs while they're going through recovery. You isolate, or not recovery, but use. You isolate when you're using. You don't always know the best way to get in touch with these resources. So having someone who can guide you through that, it's really crucial. Being able to link them to things such as outside recovery meetings or housing assistance, food, clothing, other immediate need resources, appointments for things like dental and eye care needs, even helping to address parenting needs. Those are a huge benefit in active recovery. What I always like to refer to in this is when I see my patients who maybe really struggle with their dental needs for a long time. It's one of the most visible ones that has a lot of impact on someone's self-esteem. And so I've had many patients for years that maybe through genetics or health conditions or just not taking care of themselves well, maybe had the need for dentures. And so when you see them working through with recovery support and finally gaining access to those resources so that they can have their teeth fixed or are able to get dentures, especially if they've lived without teeth for a long time, it's just such a huge, huge change. Immediately their faces brighten, it changes their whole outlook, and it makes all of us smile. We get really excited about that. And then, of course, peer support. It's just like it sounds. It's support for those that have been where you've been before. Peers and peer support specialists, they are in sustained long-term recovery. They've trained and been certified in support services. Peers in recovery can walk current patients through personal shared experiences, guide their recovery in a way that closely complements their medical, their mental health, and their case management treatments. So these patients really appreciate having that empathetic ear from anyone, but it really means something to find support from those who have been in your shoes before. So like I said, with recovery support and with counseling, with your physical doctor's visits, and also with peer support, it's really great to have all of those intertwined, communicating, working as a team to help you in your recovery process. All right. I've been very fortunate to work with so many individuals who found sustained recovery through integrated care. It's such a privilege to see it at work each day at Sparrow. I've had patients go from having no home, no job, no future plans, to living in their own homes, reconnecting with their families, starting new careers, blossomed right before our eyes. And each person's success, it's their own. They can only be measured by their own goals and their own situations. So from the newly sober patients who may be working to stay away from use every day or every week, to the patients I've seen that have graduated from programs who've gone on to do their aftercare plans and grow beyond that initial treatment phase. Those are all things that we count and we celebrate. I've sat in rooms with those that are on their 10th try, starting down that path again. I've been there with those that have completed treatment and we're writing out their aftercare plan. At the end of the day, if we're breathing, it's never too late to try, and every effort counts. Something that integrated care really promotes, supports, and works to encourage as we help people as they are ready to heal. I'm happy to say my friend that I mentioned earlier, the one that's in recovery, she's doing well. Today is actually her birthday. So she and her fiance, they went from kind of their rock bottom, having legal issues, having custody issues, disconnect with family, employment issues, all of the above when it comes to substance use disorder, to getting into the program, transitioning to outpatient care, outpatient integrated health care that help them now. They're working, their relationships are stable, they've reconnected with their family, they're raising their children in a healthy environment. And still, even years later after starting this, they're still stable, still continuing their careers. They graduated from their MAT, those medication assisted treatment programs. And again, like I said, closer with everyone than they ever were before they got a treatment. I won't go as far to say that, life's always going to be perfect, but when you list all those things out, you can really see how far people come in recovery. My friend never knew it was called integrated care, but it still helped to save her life, instill her with hope, and restore her relationships. And I'm so glad that she did it and that she's here. So thanks again for having us here at Recovery Fest. Our information about Sparrow Health and the integrated care model we use, you can visit our website. It's sparrowhealth.com, SPERO health.com. And if you guys are interested or want more information, my email is just my name, ashley.perkins@sparrowhealth.com. Thank you again. Hope you all have a great day.
Hey everyone, come out and see us. We are at the Boys and Girls Club in Murfreesboro. We are at 820 Jones Boulevard. Come out and see us for the Rutherford Recovery Fest. We still have food boxes. We've got lots of bags with the recovery resources for everyone. We just love to see you. Come out and see us.
Hi, I'm Will Taylor, your Lifeline Coordinator for Region 5 North. Today I'm reaching out to the individuals that suffer with substance use disorder just to let you know that you're not alone. As the individual in long-term recovery, early on, I thought that I had to go through the journey alone, and I was full of fear and really didn't know what recovery looked like. But that's when individuals reached out to me. They offered to walk through the journey with me, and today I still have that connection in the relationship with them. So I want to play the tape forward and offer the same thing to you and let you know that you're not alone. Project Lifeline is here to help individuals navigate resources, connect you to recovery support, and walk that journey with you. So do your part, reach out, and we're here for you.
Hi, I'm Jamie Harper. I'm the Faith-Based Community Coordinator for Middle Tennessee. The faith community and the mental and behavioral health community. In other words, what I'm trying to say is that I help bridge the gap to allow congregations to become recovery friendly, to allow them to know where to reach out whenever someone needs help. Now, I look back over the past couple of years that I've been doing this, and I can see how the role has changed, how congregations are starting to open up to the thought of being recovery friendly. So what I would like to do is to offer you the opportunity to become a recovery-friendly congregation yourself. And what that looks like is stigma reduction within the congregation. To be able to see the individual who is struggling, not as the struggle itself, but as a soul that's in need. And what we would like to do is provide you with resources and education and understanding of how to get people help. You know, we look at the congregations and we see that it should be a place of healing. And what better time to reach out to those who are struggling than now? There are so many who are hurting, who are needing connection. Be the connection. Be the place, that safe place where individuals can find hope. You know, there's a lot of different resources that we can provide for you to be able to get individuals into treatment, detox, recovery housing. So whatever is needed, even if it's just recovery resources, for yourself to learn how to start up a recovery program, a support group, and we'd love to help in any way possible. So consider becoming a certified recovery congregation. It's a good step, a step in the right direction, and we'll walk with you through this process.
My name is Rhonda Rush, and I am the Recovery Director at Family Worship Center in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And Family Worship Center is a recovery-friendly congregation. Pastor Eddie had a vision a long time ago to have a church that is open to everyone, where they do not feel judged or condemned, and a safe place to come to work through issues that life throws at you. So Family Worship Center has joined forces with the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse to become a recovery-friendly congregation. And so what that means is we just open our doors to anyone and everyone who have life struggles. And beginning the first week in September, we will be relaunching our Recovery Through Christ 12-step program. So I would invite you to come on out and join us, and I would also invite you out to be a part of our congregation. You won't find a more friendly, welcoming, loving, and kind group of people who will walk with you every step of the way through your recovery journey. So come and see us.
I used drugs and alcohol for almost all of my adult life. I ended up losing custody of all three of my children, losing my freedom, and serving a 6-year sentence in prison over drugs. If there's anything that I could do to change that, I would. But the things that I experienced in life have made me the person that I am today. When I went to a program a year ago called Doors of Hope here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, they led me in the direction I needed to go as far as NA meetings and rehabilitation. I hadn't seen my daughter that's 13 years old in 6 years. I hadn't spoken to her or anything. I was told I couldn't. After being clean for almost 90 days, I petitioned the court to have custody of my daughter back, not knowing what the outcome might bring. I had only had a job for about 60 days. I was walking to work. I didn't have a car. I didn't have a license. And I just kept doing the next right thing, going to meetings, meeting with my sponsor, meeting with a counselor and therapist daily to work through some of the things. Through this process of recovery, I've been able to get a license, get a car. I have insurance that hasn't lapsed in over a year. I have full custody of my daughter back, and she is 13. Today was her first day of high school, and she got to wake up with her mom. I haven't been able to be her mom in almost 8 years. So for any women or anybody, if you haven't seen your kids and don't know what to do, as soon as you start the process of recovery, you're doing the right thing.
ACT Wellness Center is proud to be a sponsor of the 2020 Recovery Fest in Murfreesboro. At ACT Wellness Center, we provide affordable outpatient Suboxone treatment for individuals suffering from substance use disorder and are committed to improving the lives of those we serve in Murfreesboro as well as surrounding counties. Our mission is simple. We provide a pathway to recovery through patient-centered support, intervention, and treatment in a caring, compassionate, and non-judgmental atmosphere. Our combined care approach is based on the treatment guidelines of the American Society of Addiction Medicine, which are proven to be most effective in treating opioid abuse. Our team of caring physicians have years of experience with opioid treatment. They work diligently to help individuals rebuild aspects of their lives that have been damaged by addiction. Because there is a clear connection between substance abuse and mental health, substance use, skill building, adhering to the recovery plan, and social, family, professional, and educational outcomes. Our counselors have over 40 years combined experience in addiction counseling and behavioral therapy. Let them show you how incredibly wonderful a journey to recovery can be. If you are struggling with addiction, you are not alone. Call us at 615-962-7444 and let's take the first steps together.
My name is Daniel Swope, and I'm from Laverne, Tennessee. I first experienced drugs and alcohol. Alcohol was 9, and then I smoked weed for the first time when I was like 12. What I consider my DLC to be is like speed methamphetamines and opiates, heroin, then later on Suboxone because heroin was killing everybody. I think I used because I wanted to fit in. I was looking for acceptance, and that was what I look back on it now. But I learned some things that I had some deep rooted issues that from my childhood that I never took the time to learn and to deal with. Some abandonment issues with the relationship with my mom. She passed away. My father was he left before I was born. And I was adopted by my grandparents, which was a great, loving environment. Like they raised me proper, but like I did not belong in that particular family unit. So like I said, like just wanting to fit in, just looking for acceptance somewhere to feel like I belonged. The consequences of my using were I went to jail a handful of times, probably more than I can count. The criminal charges on my record to prove it. My family was alienated from my family. I couldn't see or spend any time with them. I was letting them down. Like a lot of turmoil, a lot of hurt, a lot of pain. Not being able to have contact with my daughter for 14 months in the midst of all this, and just like being alone. Just being all by myself because that's what I chose to do. What was life like then? It was dark. Like I said previously, it was lonely. It was depressing. It was unmanageable. Like I couldn't hold a job. I couldn't do anything, without being able to be high or carry on any kind of a social life. It was just a really, really dark, tumultuous time. My turning point was I went to treatment last spring, and I had every intention to get involved in the recovery process and stay clean. I had 2 relapses since I've been out of there, but the actual turning point that really set the precedent for the program that I work now was I was sitting in a hotel room and I was using and I was high, and I was just ignoring the responsibilities of the world. And I was supposed to go eat lunch with my daughter, and I was so high that I couldn't. So I called the school and told them to relay the message to her, and then told her to tell her I would pick her up from school. Well, that time comes around, and I'm not able to do that, and so I just felt like really, really horrible about it, because I had worked so hard not to be the person that I was being in that moment. And like, it's my daughter, and that was my turning point. Like, everybody's rock bottom is different, and I have several in my story, but like, that was the rock bottom that made me want to, give recovery the shot that it deserved and change my life. When did I start my recovery? Man, well, I've been dabbling with it for 9 years. I started it in 2011, but my actual recovery hasn't kicked in until like last October 6th of 2019 is my current clean date. And that is the clean date that I'm sticking with, because as I've learned in this time, like, I didn't have any recovery before. I just had clean time, or abstinence from using narcotics. Like, I wasn't practicing the program, I wasn't working the program. So like, my recovery started on October 6th of 2019. What is my life like today in recovery? Man, it couldn't be better. I'm able to be able to be accountable, dependable. I'm happy. Like, for once in my life, my insides match my outsides, and I know that it's a process that I'm working on every day, and I mean working on every day. But by doing that process, I'm afforded opportunities that like I never would have thought that I would be able to have an active addiction. I have my relationship with my dad is really great. Me and my brother are friends. You know what I mean? I'm a father to my daughter. You know what I mean? So like, my life is, man, it makes me wonder why I didn't get on this train a little bit earlier, So, I mean, it's great. And I'm happy for the first time in like 36 years. I'm happy. How do I share the message of recovery with others? Well, I just try to practice spiritual principles, you know what I mean? Because I know it's about attraction, not promotion, But if I get the opportunity to speak specific to another recovering addict, man, I really take that opportunity. I am blessed to be able to work in the field of recovery too, and that's a sense of fulfillment all in its own, But like, just communicating, like picking up the phone for somebody who's calling, or calling somebody, and just talking to them, and just like basically just really living spiritual principles to the best of my ability every single day. My clean date is October the 6th of 2019.
I think one of the most important things that Cumberland Heights offers to people seeking treatment is a safe, loving, healing environment.
People are here because they really want to change lives. They want to work with alcoholics and drug addicts and their families.
Cumberland Heights has a 50-year tradition of treating addiction, and the foundation of recovery at Cumberland Heights has always been in the 12 Steps of Alcoholics Anonymous.
Cumberland Heights was founded by my father, Robert M. Crichton, Sr., and Dr. Thomas Frist. It started out treating men in 1966, then women. Then we developed an adolescent program and a family program.
We've opened 10 intensive outpatient centers so that people can recover in their own communities or continue their recovery after an inpatient stay. We've added 12-step immersion programs that have been very effective. We're constantly looking for ways to improve the outcomes that we have with our patients. But at our core, we remain a 12-step based, family-focused treatment center.
Being a nonprofit at Cumberland Heights means everything. We're totally committed to that concept, and principally because it enables us to be committed to the patient first.
One of the things that I'm most proud of is the relationship that the staff have with the patients that are coming in.
We're also very fortunate that we have real excellence in professional education. Our multidisciplinary team includes everybody from addiction medicine physicians to licensed marriage and family therapists to licensed clinical social workers, licensed alcohol and drug abuse counselors. All that mix brings a depth of experience and education that is unique.
The care here is unprecedented. We've got over 300 employees for 140 beds. So the ratio of employees to beds is remarkable.
The facility at Cumberland Heights is one of the best in the nation. We've got 177 acres of rolling pasture. We have several buildings on the campus, and it really is a campus setting.
As an alumnus and board member of Cumberland Heights, I'm always eager to share my story with others, simply for the fact that Cumberland Heights did save my life, and this place continues to save lives each and every day.
Cumberland Heights is important because it touches so many lives, not just the patient, but it's their family and their loved ones, and it extends out and out and out.
Call us at 800-646-9998 or visit us online. Cumberland Heights. Recover life.
My name is Angel Herman, and I'm from Murfreesboro, Tennessee. My first experience with drugs and alcohol was when I was 11. I would consider my go-to drug IV use of heroin and meth. I think I used because I was used to the lifestyle. I grew up with it. That's all I really knew. I grew up in an alcohol, drug-induced environment. I guess it was the fun atmosphere or just trying to fit in with the people around me. I was good about not using until I felt like I needed to fit in, so I started using. Some of the consequences for my using was losing everything that I own, my dignity, my health, first of all, my children and my faith in God. I lost my family. They turned their back on me. I just lost everything. Life was very hard then. I was on the streets, living from motel to motel, doing anything to make money, even when it came to prostitution, selling drugs. I linked up with other people that would do the same things to try to make money so we would have a place to live. If not, then I'd be on the streets. And so I went to my go-to drug of meth, just getting high to stay awake so that I didn't have to worry about where I was going to sleep, or if I was going to sleep in a yard, or if I was going to fall asleep at this McDonald's table because it's open 24 hours with Wi-Fi, and begging people to come get me, and no one ever showed. My turning point was when I lost my children, and they would not let me see or talk to them for 2 whole years. And I felt like I was grieving their death, but I finally made my way to a church one day and ended up getting arrested at that church, but it was God that sent me to that church. I know it was deep down in my heart. I went to jail and I flattened my time, and I knew by the time that I got out that I would have nowhere to go at all, and I would just be back in the same life, and I was scared to death. So I found a great home that took me as a family, and they were always there for me, and they helped me and they loved me, and that's all I ever needed in life. I started my recovery August 8th of 2017. My life today is unimaginable. Like, I could never even put in words. I have, first and foremost, God leading me. I work in recovery. I do have my children back full time. I'm right now a stay-at-home, well, I'm not a stay-at-home mom, but I'm a teacher. I work in recovery. I work at a hospital. I have great people surrounding me, even people from the program that I was in. They're still there for me, still held their word. They've never left me, and life is great. Life is really good. And if I would tell anybody in the world, using is not an option. You need your family. You need you. Find yourself and love yourself first. Do not go that way. I share the message of recovery by reaching out to other addicts that need my help. I found myself just going to the same spots that I used to be homeless in, finding people and telling them about how I can help them, or chairing meetings, or I'm a recovery coach at a treatment center. I tell my story, I reach out to girls, and I let them know my experience, not what they should do. My clean date is August 8th, 2017.
My name is Erica Downing. I'm the Executive Director of the Survivors of Intimate Partner Violence at No Cost Survivor. Our mission is simple but powerful: to protect victims, prevent violence, and empower survivors. We provide 24/7 crisis support services to any current or past victim of domestic or sexual violence. These services include emergency confidential safe sheltering, court advocacy and legal support services, individual and group counseling, sexual assault services, including an on-site sexual assault forensic exam room, which is an alternative to the emergency room with specialized advocates present. Domestic violence and sexual assault are terribly common. 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men will experience intimate partner violence in their lifetime. Domestic violence is a leading cause of injury to women and is a leading cause of female homicide. Every 78 seconds, someone is sexually assaulted in the United States. In 8 out of 10 cases of rape, the victim knew the person that assaulted them. At the Domestic Violence Sexual Assault Center, we know that hope and healing is possible. We want the survivors to know that you have options and all calls are free and confidential. To inquire about our services, please call 615-896-7377. You can learn more about us by visiting our website, dvsacenter.org, and you can connect with us on social media using the handle at DVSA Center. Thank you for listening to this video. I hope that you do visit us if you need our services in the future. Please know that we are here to help the community, and we want you to know that we are here to provide services to the community.
My name is Mike Courtney. I am from Murfreesboro. We've been here about 20 years now. My blown beginning to know the effects of that as a young adult in my early 20s, 21, 22, really began to feel the effects of being powerless and giving my life to something that I didn't want to. I had a disease to please. I grew up in a family of origin, which probably most people did, where there was not a lot of affirmation. I didn't feel acceptance or love, and completely alone with no visible means of support, no support system, no family, no job, no place to live, just at the bottom. Yeah. It was die or get well. I came to a place where I said, I will not live the rest of my life like this. I'm not going to suffer like this for the rest of my life. And if, as much as I possibly can, I'm going to break this chain of addiction for my family. And so that turning point when absolutely everybody had walked away, and I came to my own internal bottom of saying, I'm not going to continue like this. I'm going to get well or I'm going to die. I went to a clinic in Scottsdale, Arizona, went through a treatment program there, and found the beginning of grace, found the beginning of healing at that moment. But I also learned the process and really spent the next year and a half in very, very intense recovery, 90 meetings in 90 days, and then 3 meetings a week for the next year and a half, and all the things that involved. That was, as far as when, that was almost 20 years ago. It's great. God has given me a fresh start, a new beginning. My wife and I have been married 42 years. We didn't divorce. We remained separated for almost a year, but we didn't divorce. My children, my son that said to me, "Dad, I don't ever want to see you again," now works with me in a recovery program. I'm the director of Branches Counseling Center. We do ministry to people with depression, anxiety, fear, a lot of addiction recovery, and my children think I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread. My grandchildren love me. So God is good, and He has restored. There's a scripture that says, "The years the locusts have eaten, I will restore." He has restored those years. Well, I tell people all the time I'm the most selfish person in the world because I sit every day in a chair and do my 12th step. I spend most of my days every day counseling other people who are trying to find that same kind of healing, who are in some degree of addiction or dysfunction. And then also do a lot of work with recovery groups. I get to share my testimony lots of different places. I've written a couple of books now about recovery and about healing, and so I live it in front of my grandkids. That's how I get to share it. June the 1st, 2003.
I came to cooperative recovery because I was ready to get clean, and I knew that I needed some more help and support to do so. Losing my kids is the biggest fear that I have, and I knew that if I didn't do something and do something quick, I was going to lose both of them.
If you're struggling with opioid addiction, I'd really like to work with you to see if medications like Suboxone can help comfortably eliminate your cravings.
Call Cooperative Recovery today.
My name is Johnny Birdsong. I'm from Gallatin, Tennessee. I first experienced alcohol at the age of 10, growing up in a house where my granddaddy was a bootlegger, so my family we just started off drinking, and just carried on from there. My drug of choice is cocaine. It's just, I wish I haven't never experienced it, but I guess I was, when I was growing up, I seen my friends using, and I just wanted to fit in. So I started using, and there was a big mistake. Growing up, I had a good life. I didn't have to worry about anything, but once I started using drugs, it got to be a job. It cost me 15 years of my life in the penitentiary. It costed me family members. It destroyed my life. If I could just take it all back, I would. November of 19, I was heavy on it. My wife told me, one day this door will be locked on you. So I didn't believe her, and I went out, used, and came home. The doors were locked, and I got put out of my house, and it was cold. I didn't have nowhere to go, and at that time I knew reality took in that it's time for me to do something different. I woke up at my cousin's house, and I was just feeling like the world, like it was over. I had lost everything, my family, homeless, didn't have nothing but one outfit and a bicycle. So by the grace of God, I got up December the 2nd. It was cold. It was starting to snow. And I started riding my bike just to try to find anybody or any halfway house that would help me. And my bicycle took me to Buffalo Valley. And by the grace of God, I'm so happy for them for helping me. Oh, it's wonderful. I done got my weight back, got a job. I'm learning more about myself, about this addiction. I'm happier. Everything is going good. And it's all because of my higher power and the great people who's behind me and sticking with me. I think the only way I could share it if the people who know me was in the situation I used to be in, and if they could see me now, I think that that'll be a starting point of sharing the message. And if I can just get anybody that's willing to listen to take these suggestions and willing to change, it'll be a better life.
Hello, I'm Preston O'Neill with Cumberland Heights. I'm a regional outreach coordinator in the Middle Tennessee area. Cumberland Heights is a 57-year-old treatment facility in West Nashville. We've been treating adults since 1963 and we started treating adolescents 30 years ago. We moved our adolescents off the main campus back in April to a new $10 million facility in Pegram. Cumberland Heights is in network with over 50 insurance companies and works constantly with the families, making sure that they not only understand our treatment philosophy, but also what their financial obligation is going to be. There is no stone left unturned in communicating both with the patients and their families about what substance abuse treatment looks like at Cumberland Heights. You can find out more about Cumberland Heights at www.cumberlandheights.org, or you can call me, Preston O'Neill, at 615-428-7259. Good luck, and thank you for your time.
I'm an addict named Bam, and I'm from West Nashville. At the age of 9, I took my first drink of beer and didn't even like the taste of beer. And then about the age of 12, I started watching out for dice games, smoking marijuana, and just wanting to be accepted, really. My go-to drug was opiates, and then started progressing into methamphetamine. And the reason I used is because I just wanted to escape reality. You know, I just didn't want to feel the negative energy or the abuse that was going on in the home. I just wanted to escape. Some of my consequences of using resulted into jails. Also, I went into a few psychiatric wards, but I'm better today. My turning point, it really all began, my 6-year-old son had passed away with cancer, and I didn't know what to do with it, and I hit my bottom. I was, standing in the lines of soup kitchens in Clarksville and just feeling empty and hopeless, and I knew I had to get some help. About 2015, I started the road of recovery. And then, just a couple of years from there, I had a bunch of relapses in there. But today I have a little over 2 years, 26 months. And for that, I'm truly grateful. Life is good today. I remember first going into treatment and seeing seeing the results of what it was doing for me, and I felt a feeling that like I wanted to do that, and come to find out that carrying the message was part of recovery. And today I work in a treatment center, and I get to deal hope and not dope. I apply the steps in my life daily and use words when necessary. That's how I like to carry the message on somebody, just like I was loved on. Only suggestion I have for somebody in early recovery is work step 0. Let's go to meetings, call your sponsor, and build relationships.
My name is Landon Gilly, and I'm from Gallatin, Tennessee. My first time experiencing drugs or alcohol would be freshman year of high school. I was about 14 years old, and a friend introduced me to marijuana. I would consider my drug of choice Adderall, Vyvanse, any kind of uppers, really. I think I used to cope with all of these different emotions and feelings of not fitting in throughout high school, and to cope with my social anxiety and really just be the person everyone wanted to be around. My consequences of using pretty much started off right from the moment I started using. I lost a lot of friends once I started smoking marijuana. My parents ended up finding out, and of course, they're not okay with that. My first time in juvenile was at 15 years old, and literally I can't count the amount of times that I've been in and out of jail and institutions. I spent a lot of birthdays locked behind a door, and I really missed a lot of things that a teenager should experience growing up. My turning point was when I was last arrested, and I was facing some very serious charges that were going to put me away for a very long time. I started recovery pretty much as soon as I learned about it. I didn't know anything about recovery until I was released from jail and admitted into Buffalo Valley, and really the learning about the recovery process began whenever I entered drug court and started attending meetings and stuff like that. Recovery court was very overwhelming at first. I looked at the director of Sumner County Recovery Court, and I told her, I've never had structure before, but I know I need it. And she sure gave me some structure. It was, like I said, very overwhelming, but like if you just stick to it and you do what you're told and you take suggestions, everything starts unfolding and you realize why they're telling you to do these things. I really didn't think I could do this. I thought I was setting myself up for failure when I signed these recovery court papers. But I literally took it one day at a time, and now I've got almost 2 years under my belt. And so it's gotten to that point of where I'm still taking it one day at a time. But it's gotten it to the point of where like I can plan for next week and maybe the week after that. All around, life gets better though. It does. My life is amazing. I am super grateful for all the people, the things that I have in my life now. I really I almost feel like I don't deserve it just because of the things I've done in my past and all the people that I've put through and so much pain. but my higher power has definitely blessed me with everything that I have today. I share the message of recovery through broadening my network and not being afraid to speak to the newcomer, introducing myself, and telling him what to expect, what not to expect, just so they kind of feel out and they get a little bit more comfortable. My clean day is January 17th, 2019. Don't give up. I had many thoughts of giving up, and that's when all of the people that told me to take suggestions came to mind. And so I called them. And told them what I was thinking, how I was feeling, and, you know, something about just venting to a stranger, how you feel and how you're thinking, it changes the way you think.
If I can be an example of getting sober, then I can be an example of starting over. If I can be an example of getting sober, then I can be an example of starting over.
Hi, my name is May Farrell, and I am the coordinator for the intensive outpatient program at Trust Point Hospital right here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. IOP is group therapy 3 times a week, 3 hours each time. So it's pretty involved and pretty intensive. I believe that as a community, we are all in recovery of something. This year has probably been one of the more terrible years of my life, if I'm going to be completely honest. And so I have really been fortunate to watch people from all walks of life walk into their health and their ability to live a more full life. At Trust Point, we offer all sorts of services, including inpatient behavioral health for people who struggle with depression and anxiety, as well as, the other extreme with people who struggle with more thought disorders. We also have a co-occurring unit that is specifically for people in the community that struggle with alcohol and or drug abuse, as well as have a mental health diagnosis. We provide services for our geriatric community with dementia and a whole host of things that they struggle with. And we also have child and adolescent, so that is for our youth who have their own sets of struggles as well. I believe that we are all in recovery from something. So if you require any help, please give us a call and we'll do what we can to help you. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Will, and good afternoon now, everyone. I'm Steve. I'm an alcoholic. And man, I have really enjoyed this morning. I'm grateful to have been invited, and I've been able to look and listen to most of the speakers, whether live or pre-recorded, going before me here. And it's just been terrific. I've got so much respect and admiration for those others in recovery who've shared their stories so far this morning. And I'm grateful for that opportunity. I'm a regular at the Recovery Fest in Davidson County, but haven't been to the Rutherford County Recovery Fest. So it's I feel especially grateful to be a part of this today, because I'm a born and bred Rutherford County guy. I grew up in Smyrna. I went to school at MTSU. I grew up playing golf at Stones River Country Club. And I spent a little time in the Rutherford County Jail from time to time as well. So I've covered a lot of the bases in Rutherford County, have a lot of history there, and have a ton of friends there. It's also great to be a part of Recovery Fest because of what it represents. I think for me, it's a festival. It's a day of celebration, and for individuals and families that are in recovery, and but it's also a day of education and collaboration and awareness. I've seen, as you have earlier today, and will during the course of the afternoon, so many providers of services and different 12-step fellowships and faith-based opportunities for recovery and just a whole community of people that are reaching out to try to help and support those of us in recovery and seeking recovery. And but the real thing for me to do is share with you, why I'm here. I'm a husband. I have a lot of roles in my life. I'm a father. I'm a brother, and I'm a professional in the treatment space. But far and away, the most important, but also the most rewarding role that I have in my life is that of recovering alcohol. And so I am grateful for that, and grateful that for Alcoholics Anonymous being the 12-step fellowship that I most identified with and felt most comfortable in, and encourage everyone to follow their own conscience in finding where that recovery looks like it's going to best fit for you. I told you I grew up in Rutherford County. There in Smyrna. I went to Smyrna High School, and I'm a little bit of a anomaly for some of the speakers here earlier today. I didn't take my first drink until after I graduated from high school, and went to MTSU, and there began to drink and do a host of other things. I'll share with you. I've heard other people talk about. I think whether it's their drug of choice or, but I'm an alcoholic, and I got a very special relationship with alcohol. It's the relationship that Alcoholics Anonymous says an alcoholic has with alcohol. I can't seem to stay stopped when I want to, and I didn't seem to be able to control the amount I took. But while I have this very committed, special relationship with alcohol, it was not a monogamous relationship. Alcohol and I had an open marriage. We often invited other people to the party. So there were a host of other things going on, and other drugs that I took before getting sober on June the 30th of 1989. So well, I'll tell you, the last time I had a drink and a drug was the evening of June the 29th, 1989, and I can promise you that I did not expect nor intend to go this long between drinks. I was not going to stop drinking. I had certainly bounced off the bottom a few times, but I had not arrived at a place where I was ready to stop drinking and drugging altogether. I was at a point where I wanted to stop getting in trouble and stop getting arrested and stop wrecking cars and stop hurting the people that I love the most, and then stop hurting them again and again and again, even when I did not mean to, even when I meant it, when I promised I never would. But I was scheduled into a treatment program on July the 1st of 1989. And the reason I was scheduled in there, it was the result of a plea bargain agreement with Williamson County legal system, where I had been arrested and convicted of my 6th DUI. I had actually, in Brentwood, Tennessee, gone the wrong way down a street and hit a Brentwood police officer's car with my car. And I think most of you are street smart enough to know that will get you arrested in Brentwood. Truth is, you can get arrested for a lot less in Brentwood and perhaps in Murfreesboro and Smyrna and Nashville, but that's what got me that particular night. And as a result of that, and as a result of the legal things that followed that, I ended up being remanded both to jail and cut some of that jail time off if I would go to treatment. So I'm an example of a person that when somebody says to you that you better go to either whatever treatment program or whatever 12-step program or whatever faith-based program or whatever clinician, whatever therapist, when people say to us, you have to be going for the right reason, you have to be going for yourself. Well, I know what that means, and I don't disagree with it completely, but what I do know is that sometimes the light comes on for a guy like me while I'm there. And that was my experience. I had no intention of being exposed, as I turned out to be, to the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous through this treatment program and taking me and others out to meetings. I had no intention of hearing and becoming attracted to, then embracing and ultimately taking on as a design for living the very things that they talked about in the very first meeting that I went to. I didn't make the decision at that first meeting, but the message has not changed. So for the next little while, I just want to talk about a few things. Number one is how grateful I am. My life. Let me tell you a little bit about today. Literally this last 24 hours. My daughter's out in the other room. She is 36 years old. 36 years ago on the day of her birth, December of that year, I was drunk at the hospital. I've spent the last 24 hours at the hospital with my wife, who just had surgery, and I was not drunk, and I was able to be a good husband and to provide support and care. Today, September the 12th, is my 67th birthday. That makes me ancient to a lot of folks that have shared on here today. But the truth is, if you're suffering from what I'm suffering on, there's nothing that separates us but that gap in chronological years. But I celebrate this birthday sober and grateful and a useful, productive member of my community and of my family. And those are things that were not true on June the 29th of 1989. I had to decide, and there may be many people who are here early in their recovery and have made a commitment to that recovery, as I did back in that June and July of '89. And I decided, and you may be having some of these feelings, because I decided I need to not drink and drug, and I decided I was going to not do that. I was going to make my very best effort not to do that. But if you're early in this like me, you probably wonder, what am I going to do? I know I probably need to not do this anymore, but what is life going to look like? And for me, as a much younger man and early in my recovery, it felt like my life was about to be all about what I can't do, where I can't go, who I can't be friends with, who I can't talk to. That life was going to be very small and very restrictive. And I will tell you that my experience has been just the opposite, that my recovery has opened my life up. That my recovery, I didn't realize until after getting sober how few places I was able to go, how few places I was welcome to go, how few places I was willing to go. I can't tell you how much I did and did not do, because my life had become so tethered and anchored to my alcoholism and my drug addiction and my inability to operate outside the scope of those. I have heard people on this morning that, my heart welled up when I heard, I believe it was Ashley, speak about getting her kids back. When I heard the gentleman talk about not being able to make it to school to pick his daughter up, I understand those things, and it is so heartening for us to be here at the Recovery Fest to share and celebrate together those types of triumphs. I also know, after 31 years being sober, that life keeps on coming when we're sober, and so we're not promised a life that is going to be absent problems. We're going to be promised a life that we can stay sane and sober and sound in the midst of those problems. And that's what I was unable to do before. Any light wind blew me over and was an excuse for me to drink at something or drug at something. And today I went bankrupt at 10 years sober, lost a home, lost cars, lost a lot of material things. But it did not threaten my physical sobriety, and it did not change who I was in my recovery. My value as a person is no longer tied to the material things in life. It's a pretty wonderful thing to begin to get a sense of value as to what we bring to other people. Those of us in recovery are given such a gift that's been spoken about by everyone else this morning. How do you carry the message? Or what an honor that is for those of us who have gotten a little bit of sobriety to be able to carry that message. And that's the one we carry. The 12-step in our 12-step program says to me, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to alcoholics and practice these principles in all our affairs. And when I think about that, when I think about what is the message that I have to carry, I'm not talking about anyone else's message. What's the message that I have to carry? What's the truth about me? And the message that I have to carry is that I've had a spiritual awakening, and it was the result of those 12 steps. And I continue through the process of applying those steps in my daily living to build upon that awakening, to build upon that conscious contact with a power greater than myself that has restored me to sanity and made drinking and drugging unnecessary. I have spent hardly any time resisting a drink since I've been sober. This would be a tough place. 31 years later, this would be a hard place to be trying to not drink, to be resisting a drink. But let me talk about something else for a minute as I move toward the last few minutes that I'm going to spend with you. I think all of us who are in recovery from substance use disorder, from alcoholism, from drug addiction, all of us have stories about what we did under the influence of those drugs, what it kept us from doing and what it made us do. And I certainly have those. In 1980, I was living in Atlanta, Georgia. I was at a bar one afternoon. I was drinking kamikaze shooters and I was taking Tylenols, which is a barbiturate, and I ended up on the interstate on I-280 on the perimeter of Atlanta, and I hit a car head on, and two other cars hit us, and it totaled all four cars. It sent people to the hospital, and it sent me to jail. And I came to the next morning in the Cobb County Jail, and I was a mess. I urinated on myself. I vomited on myself. I was at a low point. I was afraid and ashamed of what I had done to the people who were injured. I was humiliated at the state I found myself. It was perhaps the low, I won't call it a bottom, it's the lowest I had felt as a result of a drug and alcohol related incident. And I vowed that morning in that jail cell never to drink again. And I meant it with all my heart. 10 days later, I was driving down the road, smoking a joint, drinking a bottle of wine, thinking I nearly overreacted to that I nearly stopped drinking completely. Now, I will tell you that what I now know, and I did not know until I got into recovery, when the literature that I read says there'll come a time that a guy like me, the alcoholic, won't be able to bring to consciousness with sufficient force the memory of the suffering and humiliation of even a week or a month ago. I'll be without defense against the drink. And at that point, I recognized at a depth that I had not understood before, that while I am responsible for what I do, I have to take responsibility for my actions. I have an illness over which I have no power. I could not decide not to drink. That eluded me. You cannot love me enough to keep me sober, and you cannot frighten me enough to keep me sober. You can't put me in jail enough to keep me sober. The love of my daughter and my wife was insufficient to keep me sober. The desire to prosper and do well professionally was insufficient to keep me sober. There are no circumstances that I found sufficient to keep me sober. But what happens to a guy like me when I found myself in that spot, in that turning point that I heard some others talk about? I was at a turning point but didn't know where to turn. I was at a turning point where I came to grips with the fact that I've got a problem I can't solve, but I don't know what to do about it. It looks like when you don't understand alcoholism and drug addiction, like so many people outside of our circle don't, but many of us inside don't initially. When I don't understand the problem, then it looks like something else is the solution. It looks like trying harder and doing better is the solution. It looks like that firm resolve and good intentions will have some payoff, but they did not for me, no long-term payoff. So it was only when that turning point turned me away from me trying to solve my problem to me embracing the principles laid out in the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous that connected me to a power greater than myself that did solve my problem. And that does so on a daily basis as a daily reprieve contingent upon my maintaining active participation in my recovery through those 12 steps. But the part, and so I had many escapades, my literature calls them. That's a kind word for some of the things a guy like me did. But here's what I didn't understand, and perhaps many other folks didn't understand before they got to their recovery, and that is that I've got alcoholism even when I'm not drinking. That I had alcoholism before I got to Alcoholics Anonymous, but even when I wasn't drinking. See, I knew that I had alcohol-related problems. I knew I had drug-related problems. I had legal problems, family problems, financial problems that all seemed connected to my inability to drink and drug successfully and did a lot of harm under the influence of that alcohol and drugs. But at the same time, I will tell you that I was in a family business where I wasn't working hard, but I was being well compensated. I had a wife that loved me and a daughter that loved me. I had a house that at the time was current on its mortgage. I had 2 cars in the garage and externally a life that looked pretty good. But I felt different. And I hear that from so many people and my peers that come into recovery talking about feeling different and an inability to explain what that feeling is. You know, there's a line in the book Alcoholics Anonymous about Dr. Bob Smith, our co-founder, and it's back in the chapter of Vision for You. And it says of Dr. Bob, it said he was painfully aware of being somehow abnormal. He did not yet fully understand what it meant to be alcoholic. And I will tell you, I spent a lot of time before getting sober being painfully aware I was somehow abnormal, but a total inability to describe to you what that abnormality was, what that feeling was, what that feeling that had me walk into a room and feel like an actor in a play who'd forgotten his lines, who had me spending so much time trying to not get caught feeling as insecure as I felt. Trying to not get caught making a mistake, trying to put on a persona that would be acceptable to you. I heard a couple other people talk about fitting in. I think that's what that is. My trying to fit in means I quit trying to be me and try to be a version of me that I think is going to be acceptable to you. What I have found in my recovery through the 12 steps and through a relationship with a higher power is that I find authentically who I am. I go in, I face and be rid of those things in me that were blocking me off from having a true connection with the people in the world, a true connection, a fulfilling connection. I can't tell you how many times I left a family gathering or a social gathering or even a work gathering and have gone in and acted like I was comfortable and personable and outgoing and jovial and life of the party, and leave there and walk out the door and that door closed behind me and me feel empty because I haven't been who I truly am in there. And so I'm unable to receive the love that others are offering me, frankly. There wasn't a shortage of people offering me love and affection. There was just a real inability for that to resonate with me in any real way. And that has changed for me in my time in Alcoholics Anonymous. I'll end by talking about a couple of things that were challenging for me and perhaps challenging for others as they show up to their recovery. And that is, I landed in a 12-step program that says that it may require a spiritual experience for me to conquer my alcoholism. And when I showed up here, I felt unable to access anything of a spiritual nature. I was not religious nor anti-religious. I tell people I don't think I was atheist or agnostic. I was apathetic. I had been unengaged and uninvolved. Today, I tell you, I have issue with no person's spiritual life and spiritual path. We are encouraged to find the path that works for us. And I believe that there are a lot of doors into the same room. But there's a gentleman that perhaps some people that are listening and watching today will recall, some of the old timers, a gentleman named Mo H. in Nashville. And Mo passed away in 2003. I first met Mo in 1989, but became friends with him, close friends, in 1997 till the day he died. And Mo always quoted the verse to a poem when he ended his talks. And when I first heard that in 1997, he said it had described his relationship, that he initially had struggled with to find a conception of a higher power that would work for him. And having had that same struggle, the poem that he used absolutely resonated with me and provided me a path into and toward and a way to describe this relationship. And Mo became ill in 2003. He came down with cancer, and it was just a few short weeks before he would pass away. A friend of mine and myself had breakfast with him, and I asked him that morning, I said, Mo, would you mind when I get a chance to share about my experience in sobriety and Alcoholics Anonymous and my pursuit of a relationship with a power greater than myself? It would be okay with you if I used the verse to that poem as you did. And he said to me what I think I'm hearing from everybody here today in one form or another. He said it much more succinctly. He said, Steve, if you think it'll help another drunk. See, and I think most of us are here today willing to do or say anything we can to try to help another person, whatever their malady may be, whatever they may be suffering from, whether it's alcoholism, drug addiction, mental health. We are loving, caring people. You wouldn't be on here today if you weren't about helping each other. And he said, Steve, if you think it'll help another drunk. And since 2003, I've never done something like this and not shared that poem. And I've been able to share it literally in the last 17 years with tens of thousands of people. And I always say, I know every time it has helped another person, because the person that helps is always me. And the little poem was, I sought my God I could not see. And I sought my soul eluded me. But I sought my fellow man and found all three. You know, that's been my experience in Alcoholics Anonymous, that at its core, when I strip everything else away, this is about us getting together, sharing ourselves with each other. What happens is this power shows up in a way that I can't define or comprehend. It is too big for me to identify or to characterize. But it has made it unnecessary for me to take a drink or a drug since June the 29th of 1989. And for the vast majority of that time, it has afforded me a life that's happily and usefully whole. And I can tell you what was never true before. Sometimes I was happy. Often that happiness was a mere distraction from my life. But never did my life feel whole, complete. Never did I feel at ease with peace of mind. Never did I feel useful and purposeful. And I can promise you, I sit here on September the 12th of 2020 in this moment, being able to tell you honestly and earnestly, all of those things are true of me in this moment. I am so grateful to have spent a little time with you guys today. What a wonderful event this is. We are all gathered here, I think, to help each other and then to find ways to extend that reach beyond today's gathering to help even more. I hope in some small way I can participate in that as we go forward. Will, thank you so much for inviting me, and thank you people for listening for the last little while. God bless.
I'm Jerome Hill. I'm from Lebanon, Tennessee. I started experiencing drugs and alcohol when I was 14, 15 years old. My drug of choice is alcohol. I was trying to block out my childhood. Some of the consequences of my using was DUIs, broken relationships, broken family relationships, jobs. Life back then was real dark. It was real dark for me. I spent a lot of time in trouble in jail in my younger years. The turning point was my son got involved in narcotics, went to treatment 3 times, and my turning point was at Buffalo Valley at the treatment center. I didn't attend treatment. My son was there, but that's where the turning point was. I started my recovery in 1999. Comparing my life to what my life was like in active use, I could not hold a job early on. I finally got a job that I held, but it was just a complete chaos all the time. And that's the reason I drank and used every night. The reason it took me so long to recover. I didn't get sober till July the 19th of 2016 and struggled in and out of the program. My life was still dark, but it got brighter and brighter and brighter. Compared to my life today, my life's full of gratitude. My life's full of great things, and I've been through some rough times in recovery. I got a great life today. That God got me to AA, and AA got me to God. And I stick with that. I tell my sponsees that. Everybody I know what I tell them, because that's exactly how it happened to me, slowly but surely. You know, I work my recovery and I live in my sobriety. It's cool. Right. Sober is the new high, brother.
At the Cooperative Recovery, we offer comprehensive treatment in one location. We know that medication is only one part of someone's recovery from addiction.
Well, truthfully, I think that the most difficult part for a patient who's coming into the cooperative recovery program is just taking that initial step. One of the more successful stories that I've seen here at Cooperative Recovery is actually Dara.
I came to Cooperative Recovery because I was ready to get clean and I knew that I needed some more help and support to do so. Losing my kids is the biggest fear that I have, and I knew that if I didn't do something and do something quick, I was going to lose both of them. If I came across someone that needed help, I would definitely do what I could to help them get into cooperative recovery. There's all different types of care that come along with being in recovery. You can't just do one thing, and cooperative recovery offers all those things.
Charges on my record that aren't too pretty. To today I have to live in a halfway house, and but it's all rewarding, and I'm grateful for those consequences. My life in active addiction was honestly a horror. I woke up every day looking for a way to use. It was one of the darkest moments of my life, and I never want to go back. My first turning point I ever experienced was whenever I woke up in Macon County Jail. I somehow made it to the pods, and I just had this moment where it was like, I am totally powerless over drugs and alcohol. Like, here I am with a rap sheet now, and I remember feeling so ashamed. I first started recovery at the age of 20, and for me, it took me 4 years ultimately to get a year clean, but I wouldn't do it any other way. My life today is wonderful. I have the ability to manage a halfway house, which I never thought I would be able to hold other women accountable. I have my family in my life today. I have friends in my life today that actually love me. I have a car, I have a license, I have insurance. Today I have a life of somewhat normal people, and it's really beautiful. For me, I share the message of recovery whenever I see others struggling. Say I'm in the store and I see somebody get arrested, I would hand them a little Post-it note with an address to a meeting on it, because I personally work a 12-step program, and that's what worked for me. My sobriety date is February 22nd, 2019. For those who are early on in recovery, I just want you to know right now it's uncomfortable, but it does get better. I can guarantee I wouldn't still be doing this if it was a miserable way of life. There's going to be a lot of ugly you have to get through, but it is ultimately beautiful. To the ladies out there, I want you to know, when I first came in these rooms, I didn't like women whatsoever. I didn't even like myself, but today I have a strong network of women in my life, and it's possible to have women friends, and you'll realize how beautiful you are. It went through a lot where I didn't know my self-worth. I didn't do self-acceptance. I hated myself, but today I'm honestly able to say that through prayer and working a program and trying every day to do the next right thing, that I no longer think those things about myself. I love myself today, and you can too.
Wait, hold on. Is that my phone? Go ahead. You're live now. Hello, my name is Rhonda Rush, and I'm coming to you from Recovery Fest 2020 here at the Boys and Girls Club at 820 Jones Avenue. And we still have plenty of resource bags left and lots of other people here that can help you. So anyway, I wanted to also talk about a Family Worship Center, my church. And if anybody that's struggled with addiction knows that there's a lot of shame involved. But as the recovery director for Family Worship Center, we welcome anybody at our church. We're a recovery-friendly congregation, but also we have a faith-based 12-step group called Recovery Through Christ, and we would welcome you to come on out and join our group. It's at 6:30 on Wednesdays. Anyway, so we exist to rid the stigma associated with addiction, the shame and the guilt and all that. So we are a group of people that's been there, done that, and we're on the other side of it, and we want to help you get there too. So come on out to Rutherford Recovery Fest 2020, grab you a resource bag and say hi to everybody here, and have a great day. That was about as corny as
Hi, I am Faye Short. And thankfully, we've got a lot of food here for you guys. This is like loaves of bread, buns, muffins, bagels, and also snack items. You know, we all love sugar, right? Some crumble cookies, and then also boxes of produce. This is fruits and vegetables, potatoes, onions, apples, cucumbers, zucchini, squash, all sorts of stuff. So come on down to 820 Jones Boulevard, Boys and Girls Club of Murfreesboro, and get you some recovery.
Hey everybody, first I want to thank Recovery Fest for inviting us out here, and Sarah Murphy as well. We're honored to be a part of Recovery Fest in Rutherford County since its beginnings, and we're grateful to be here again. We're here on behalf of Narcotics Anonymous, and some of our guiding principles encourage us to be mindful of our anonymity when in public, when we're in the public's eye. So for that reason, we're going to kind of leave our names out of this presentation, but we definitely want you guys to know that we're totally grateful to be here. Narcotics Anonymous was founded in 1953, and with one meeting and one adaptation, major adaptation from the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, and that adaptation made us a completely separate program than AA. And that one major distinction was that we focus on the disease of addiction as a whole. Our problem's not a specific substance, and alcoholism was too limited of a term for us. However, we're totally grateful to AA for allowing us to adapt our 12 steps and 12 traditions to create something of our own. And from that day, with one meeting, we've grown to today with over 70,000 weekly meetings. There's hundreds of thousands of addicts finding recovery, finding a new way to live in the Narcotics Anonymous program each and every day. And we're so grateful to be a part of that. And we're so grateful to have the opportunity to come out here and share with you guys the life-saving message that we have found. There are no fees or dues for Narcotics Anonymous, and anyone is welcome, regardless of age, race, sexual identity, creed, religion, or even lack of religion. Everyone is welcome. So, and that's one thing that I found whenever I started my journey in Narcotics Anonymous. But prior to that, I was pretty much lost my whole life. I spent my whole life trying to fill a void inside that was never ending. I always looked for a person, place, or thing that was going to make me feel okay or make me feel whole. And I went from one thing to another and ultimately found drugs. And in Narcotics Anonymous, we say alcohol is a drug as well. And that was one of the drugs that I originally found. And it made me feel like there was a solution to the problem that was me. And for the longest time, I continued to apply that solution. And the further along I got, the harder it was to step away from that solution. The more challenging it was to face life on its own terms. The more challenging it was to face myself in the mirror. And eventually the things that I had to do in order to maintain my addiction completely demoralized me. I loathed myself, and I degraded myself in my own eyes, let alone in the eyes of everybody else. And so when time came and the pain was enough, really past when the pain was enough, I thought that I would get clean. And how do you get clean? Based on any movies that you'll ever see, you go to treatment and then you come out and you're clean on the other side, right? So I went to treatment, and after one day, I decided that treatment center wasn't doing anything correctly, and left. And that may seem like a failure because immediately after that, I went right back to everything that I knew and I used again. However, in that one day that I was there, I was introduced to 12-step recovery. And in that little introduction, it planted a seed, which we're hoping to plant today. And that little seed grew into an idea of maybe there's hope for me. And I went to a meeting and I said, hey, I'm here to recover. I went to a 12-step fellowship that wasn't Narcotics Anonymous. And they said, that's great, but this is not the place for you. You should try Narcotics Anonymous. And I was offended at first, but then I was grateful when I found my home. I walked in there and I found addicts recovering from the disease of addiction, people that I knew understood exactly what I was going through, understood exactly how I'd felt and how I'd been feeling at that time. And that was a very comforting feeling. And after a little while of getting accustomed to clean living, I began to apply the program to my life. I began to make meetings on a regular basis, apply the 12 steps, get and use a sponsor. And I was able to take suggestions from predecessors, people that had came before me that had understood how to live clean, how to live in society and be a responsible, productive member without the use of drugs. And as a result, my life's been revolutionized. I've gained relationships with my family back that are invaluable. I've been able to obtain financial security, and there's no way I have enough time to sit here and talk about everything that I've gained as a result of Narcotics Anonymous. But the main thing that I've gained is freedom to be myself and express myself on a daily basis, and the freedom to live my life. And that is the most beautiful thing. So Narcotics Anonymous says that an addict, any addict, can stop using drugs, lose the desire to use, and find a new way to live. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Hey guys, I am super grateful to be here, just like my friend here. I want to thank Recovery Fest and Sarah again. I say that because I am grateful to spend a weekend doing this. I'm grateful to wake up and use my time during the day for something like this, because when I first got clean, they told me one of the best ways to keep what we have is by giving it away. So yeah, I am. From the bottom of my heart, I'm grateful for this opportunity. So with that, I agree with everything my friend has said here. I share his optimism. I share his excitement, and I don't think it was overblown at all in terms of what Narcotics Anonymous has done for our personal lives. And I want to back up a little bit, because I identify with what he was talking about, looking for something to fill me and make me whole. I remember the first time I heard somebody mention a spiritual void, right? And I remember thinking to myself, how did you know what was going on with me? And it wasn't something I could explain to a lot of people. But when I came into Narcotics Anonymous, after a very similar background to my friend here, to where I've tried everything, I tried to to maybe go just use on the weekends, maybe just use certain types of drugs. Maybe if I moved to a different state, I would be better. Or maybe if I hung out with different people. And I found pretty quickly that none of those things worked because I didn't know what was happening inside of me. I was up against something that was way bigger than I was. And when I came into the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous and I heard people talk about that and the way that they thought about life and the world around us, I remember I felt at home. For one of the first times in my life, I felt like I was in the right place. Was I hurting? Yeah. Was it a great first week for me getting clean? No. But I was home and I was going the right direction. I was doing the next right thing that I knew to do. One thing that I want to point out about my story is I came into Narcotics Anonymous young. I came into Narcotics Anonymous at 19 years old. So when I sat down in a room and I looked around, I thought to myself, well, maybe I'm not like everyone else here. Maybe I have some more research to do. Maybe maybe I'll grow up and be able to use successfully one day. And the people around me, like he said, regardless of age, race, sexual identity, creed, religion, or lack of religion, regardless of age, I was qualified to be there and I was qualified to find a better way of life. And that was big for me because what my predecessors told me is that you don't have to reach a new low. You don't have to find that bottom. We've done the research for you. You're in the right place. I identified with their message and I really identified with the solution. And what they told me was go to meetings on a regular basis. It was recommended of me to make 90 meetings in 90 days. Does that sound like a lot? That's an hour and a half a day. If you count the conversation before, conversations after, coffee, that's a big part of my day. But I'll tell you, not only was it worth it, but I enjoyed every meeting I went to. I got to meet people like me. I got to surround myself with people that challenged my thinking and had walked through some of the things I had walked through. That's hard to find. And it was free. Where's the catch, right? And the catch is what I open with, is I can only keep what I have by giving it away, but I'm happy to do that today. And I also share the same results. My life has truly been revolutionized. That's no over-exaggeration. It was a practical application of what I learned. I got a sponsor. I started working the steps. That was a concrete activity that we have. I met with him on a weekly to bi-weekly basis. I was grateful for the time he poured into me. And I get to do that for others today as well. Now, those tools that I learned, I got to apply in every area of my life. So yeah, I'm grateful for the relationships I have in Narcotics Anonymous, but I'm just as grateful and excited about the relationships outside of the rooms that I have as well. My coworkers know me on an intimate level. My family members love and trust me. I have friendships today outside of the Narcotics Anonymous that are just as deep as the ones that are in. There was no way I could accomplish that without the tools I learned in this program. So staying clean was just the beginning. It was just the first thing that I got to do. It was the first miracle that occurred in my life. And afterwards, it was exponential growth in every other area. Because using was just a symptom of my problem. And that's what they told me in Narcotics Anonymous. And after that, after I got past that, I was able to live a free life. And today, I'm grateful for that life I live. So I will continue to give back. I will continue to share this life-saving message. And I'm grateful to be here. So thanks again, guys.
Thank you. And if you guys want more information on Narcotics Anonymous, you can go to hotareana.org. That's HOTAREANA.org. And that'll have our most up-to-date meeting schedule, general information about Narcotics Anonymous, or some of our activities that are upcoming. And at the bottom, there's a little spot where you can contact us if you have any questions, any concerns, any comments about Narcotics Anonymous. We would love to hear them. So please go to hotareana.org and please give yourself, if you're an addict and you're watching this video right now, please give yourself a break and give it a shot. Thank you.
Welcome and thank you for joining me here at the Rutherford County Recovery Festival 2020. My name is Faye Short and I work for Tennessee Mental Health Consumer Association, TMHCA. I'm also a volunteer for the Rutherford County Suicide Prevention Coalition. I want to tell you that September is Suicide Awareness Month. Now I'm looking at this newspaper article here, and it says county suicide rates likely unaffected by virus. I don't know how much of that is true. I did make a few phone calls to Tennessee Suicide Prevention Network, and what they have told me is that there's been an increase in calls to the crisis line. Some of the calls have been related to stress at work. I want to let you know that suicide is a public health issue. Suicide can leave families in shambles. It can lead to increased medical costs related to injuries, emergency services, and post-care for survivors. It can also bring about the guilt, shame, and stigma related to suicide. Suicide rates are highest for the age groups 45 to 65 than any other age group. It's the leading cause of death for ages 10 to 17, and suicide is the second leading cause of death for ages 10 to 24. What are the reasons for feeling suicidal? Loneliness, failing to meet expectations, identity issues, feeling worthless, feeling helpless, feeling hopeless, and mental health problems, to name a few. What I want you to know is suicide is preventable. If you believe you know someone who may be thinking about suicide, you can help them by using this simple method known as question, persuade, refer, QPR. You want to check in with them and ask them directly, are you thinking about suicide? If they say yes, you want to persuade them that suicide is not the answer by offering hope. Refer them to professional resources. I have a few live and confidential resources for you now. You can text TN to the number 741-741. You can also call the state crisis line at 1-855-274-7471. Or you can call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255. I want to repeat that for you one more time. You can text TN to 741-741. You can call the state crisis line at 1-855-274-7471. You can also call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Again, my name is Faye Short. Please come down and join us at 820 Jones Boulevard for our Recovery Festival today. I hope to see you there. Thank you.
Like a small boat on the ocean, sending big waves into motion. Like how a single word can make a heart open. I might only have one match, but I can make an explosion. And all those things I didn't say were wrecking balls inside my brain. I will scream loud tonight. Losing friends and I'm chasing sleep. Everybody's worried about me. In too deep, say I'm in too deep. It's been 2 years, I miss my home. There's a fire burning in my bones.
My name is Eddie Russell, and I am from Gallatin, Tennessee. My first experience with alcohol was at age 15. My go-to drug of choice is alcohol, mainly beer. I used to just get away from life for a while, just completely zone out. Missing out on kid functions, family functions, isolating myself, bad things. My turning point was when I knew I needed help when I couldn't function daily without having alcohol. Found recovery on January 29th of 2020. My life is amazing today, full of peace, joy, and happiness that I haven't felt in years. To someone that's early on in recovery, I would say, always remember what you are so you don't go back to what you was. Don't have to stay in addiction, whether it be alcohol or drugs. There's a better way of life.
Hi, my name is Tyler Bowman with Tulip Hill Recovery. I'm business development, and I've been working at Tulip Hill for over a year now. You know, one of the core things that we kind of focus on is the mental health and the substance abuse as a whole. We firmly believe the mental health is driving the substance abuse, which is a symptom. We do a 90-day continuum, partial hospitalization and intensive outpatient. So over the 90 days, we go through 3 phases. The first phase is partial hospitalization, which is like a true inpatient. They're doing 8 hours a day, 6 days a week of clinical. We implement equine therapy, trauma-informed therapy, acupuncture, art therapy, as well as a lot of other modalities. We really want to figure out what the core issues are, and we kind of peel back the onion and start to work through it. At that point, you know, the patients are very intensive. We're transporting them to and from the facility. They're under our care 24/7. We're always keeping eyes on them. You know, Tulip Hill is a family. We really want to serve the community and show people that they can work through their experiences, and that's why we stay with them long term. So after they complete phase 1, they're going to step down into phase 2 for an additional 30 days. That's 5 days a week, 3 hours a day in the morning of intensive outpatient. They're coming in, continuing to do group therapy to process with their peers. Their med management's also included, so we're dealing with their medications and continuing to support them from that end. We, you know, really start to work on resume building and job search. I think that a lot of people in early recovery don't know what makes them happy. You know, what is it that we do after we get sober? How do we have fun anymore? You know, those were some of the things that came up for me when I got clean. I thought that naturally I couldn't have fun. You know, my perception of fun was skewed. So we want to empower these people. And so in phase 2, they're still not going to be working, but they're going to continue the search phase. They're going to continue to stay along with us. And then we want them to get a job through Indeed. We don't go through a temp agency. It's a little bit different. And if they don't have a job by phase 3, which is the last 30 days, they have to volunteer at Greenhouse Ministries, or they're stepping into their job. You know, phase 3 is 3 days a week, 3 hours a day, so it's a lot less intensive. At this point, they have a lot more freedoms. You know, I think the biggest thing about Tulip Hill is probably their culture. You know, we don't have, you know, beachfront property as a treatment facility, but what we do is we invest in our people. We're a small treatment facility, 36 beds. We call it a mom and pop treatment facility. Ben Jones is the owner along with his wife, Tess. Tess is the yoga instructor at the facility, and Ben is also a licensed clinical social worker. So we take the clinical side very serious. We have 6 master level clinicians, which are therapists. We have a psychiatric nurse practitioner, and we just brought on Dr. Amin from Trust Point as our psychiatrist. And we also have a doctor on staff. So a lot of stuff there for the mental health side. So we're able to support them through that whole process. You know, I'd say if anybody wants to come to Tulip Hill, you just have to be willing. You have to be ready to surrender and get to the point like I did after my 5th overdose, when I decided that I tried it everybody else's way and my own, and I was willing to take some direction. You know, those are the ones we want, the people that are willing to grab onto recovery and start a new lifestyle. If you need to reach out, you know, we do access private insurance. We have an affordable self-pay rate, and we'll work with families. If you need to get in touch with me, you can call me on my cell phone. My number is 615-715-8463. That's 615-715-8463. If you don't have insurance, you don't have resources, or you just don't know what to do, just call me and we'll help find you a place. It doesn't have to be at Tulip Hill.
Hi, my name is Diane Sherrod.
My name is Will Taylor, and every day I have the opportunity to work with individuals who may be struggling with substance that touches the lives of everyone. Because of the increased number in overdoses across our state, we are here to share some resources available to you.
The Lifeline Peer Project is a group of men and women across the state with lived experience. Every day, we are meeting individuals to show them how to overcome their addiction.
Addiction is a treatable disease. By providing the needed resources, we can help assist anyone who wants help. You don't have to do this alone, and we are here for you.
As regional overdose prevention specialists, we can provide Narcan to individuals at high risk for opioid overdose and even their families or loved ones. Narcan is the only successful way to reverse an opioid overdose.
This harm reduction method provides individuals an opportunity at finding recovery. No individual wants to be addicted. They want what we all want, to be free, happy, healthy, and productive.
There is hope.
There is hope.
Call us. We're here to help.
Everybody, it's Kedrick House here with Boys and Girls Clubs of Rutherford County. We're here supporting the Recovery Fest today. So you guys come on out. We're at 820 Jones Boulevard. We're always happy to partner with different community agencies and things like that in the community. So come on by. There's a lot of good things out here, and there's a lot of great people that you'll see and can spend time with on this wonderful Saturday.
Good morning and happy Saturday. My name is May Farrell, and we're down here at the Boys and Girls Club for our 2020 Recovery Fest. These are very weird times that we are living in, and so we have a little bit of a different setup, but I want you all to come on down here and see us because there are resources and access to information available that you otherwise wouldn't have. I understand that life has thrown us so many curveballs in this season, and so one tidbit and nugget I'd like to offer is that it's really important to stay in the present as much as possible. And whenever I am struggling, I like to say the serenity prayer. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I know for me, a lot of times I get caught up with that wisdom to know the difference. So I really want to encourage you to utilize that little prayer, talk to your higher power, and allow it to work for you. Thank you, and we'll see you soon.
Hey everyone, my name is Yusuf. I'm with the Islamic Center of Murfreesboro. We've been in Rutherford County for a little over 30 years now, and we're really grateful and really lucky to be a part of such a caring and just supportive community, and times are just crazy right now, We're all recovering from something. So the ICM, we want to help in whatever way we can. We started a food drive, so if you need food, come over to us. Just drive up 11 a.m. every Saturday, and we'll fill you up with bread, produce, snacks, all that kind of stuff. And because things have always been stressful, but now even more so. Never has a time been more stressful for us, I think. And so mental health and substance abuse, these are really serious issues. So we're out here today at the Boys and Girls Club of Murfreesboro for Recovery Fest. We're really trying to promote all the resources that are out there for anybody that might need help, you know, and it's just so important, you know. So just come out. We've got great food here. We've got great resources. We've got great people. And if you need help in any kind of way, we're here for you.
There is power in the name of Jesus. There is power in the name of Jesus. There is power in the name of Jesus. Break every chain, break every chain, break every chain. There's power. There is power in the name of Jesus. There is power in the name of Jesus. There is power in the name of Jesus to break every chain, 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 to break every chain. No sufficient sacrifice, so freely given, such a price, bought our redemption. Heaven's gates swing wide. We believe there is power in the name of Jesus. There is power in the name of Jesus. There is power in the name of Jesus. Break every chain, break every chain, break every chain. There is power in the name of Jesus. There is power in the name of Jesus. There is power.
I hope. I hope that you all have enjoyed the stories of restoration today. I hope that you have gained some resources, whether you physically made it over to the Boys and Girls Club to pick up your packages, or whether or not you're just using them. And when we say addiction, we're not just talking about addiction to drugs and alcohol, even though those are the ones we hear the most about. But if you're struggling with any type of addiction, whether it's food, sex, money, anything, we want you to seek out help, because help is there.
I can't. Hold up. Is it blurry now? Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, we're at the Boys and Girls Club till 2 p.m. Come see us. We still have resources to give away. Come see us. Recovery Fest 2020. It was so stressful.